today we were lucky enough. This is cool. I just want to tell you the story real quick before we kick this off.
Okay.
So, as you know, I already told you about the story about throwing hot oil and and I think it got on the actual wrap. And then I went down the street and saw that, there was another asphalt truck. Anyways, long story short, I called these guys. I was like, what's it take to get that replaced?
Yeah.
And so I talked to Kurt, and this was back in 2022, yep. Right? That I had bought the Blackwing, and it went from Sewell County straight over to Kurt's shop, and they put the Expel stealth wrap on it. And I was talking to him, and he was like, you just get on the phone with somebody, right? Mm-hmm. You already know it's going to be kind of a cool conversation because you already know we're car guys, right?
Yep.
And then so he tells me a little bit about, what is happening over the last 3 years. And I'm like, oh, dude, entrepreneur too. Got to be on the show. So this is how we met, Kurt and the S Collective. So I think that's important. The S Collective, if you get confused, all their last names, if you say Mr. Smith, they'll all respond.
You got us.
Yeah.
You got us.
That's how we'd be like, yes, Mr. Smith over here if you forget their names. But that's essentially how we met. And really the cool thing about this podcast is you're actually going to see us meet someone live. We don't have a lot of history with these guys at all. Common theme is cars, business, and how we got to where we were today. And you guys have an awesome, interesting story. So I'm ready to dive into that. And then talk about S3, some of the product side, some of the car stuff, and we'll unpack it all. So
I know one of them.
Yeah, of course. Tell that story.
I know one of them.
So how does this even happen in 5.5 million people in DFW? Right. I come across the one guy that you did a swap for.
Well, so when you told me hey man, do you remember a car named Snow White? And I was like, yes. Why? He goes, so I met that owner of that car the other day, and we were talking on the phone, and I'm like, okay. How do you know about Snow White? He goes, did you used to do LS swaps on G35s? Yes. Where is he? Where is this car? Are you trying to buy it? Is it for sale?
That's great.
I don't want you to buy that. I'm going to buy it.
So you got a buyer now.
There you go.
Thank goodness. Right?
Yeah, right.
So it's for sale.
So one of them we have here, we built a car almost 11 years ago to the date.
Today, 11 years.
11 years today it started up. Yeah.
I fired up for the first time 11 years ago. It doesn't seem like 11 years.
Do you think you have pictures of that car?
I know I have pictures of that car.
Dude.
That car and the Cartel car were two of my favorite G35 builds ever did. And we did a lot of them, but those were my two favorite. Snow White was so clean and beautiful, RPF ones, real nice, had really nice wheels on it. And then Cartel had a unique story with it too, so.
Yeah, I got part of the Cartel story.
Because they were almost back to back. They were real close to being.
So they were in the shop at the same time for a little bit, yeah.
So Cartel was a G35 that we did, but his donor car was a GTO that came from auction.
Yeah.
And it was all shot up. It had bullet holes riddled all the way through it. Like from the passenger side across to the driver's side, everything. Like machine gun went through this car and this guy bought it.
So what you're saying is the Pontiac GTO, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't outrun bullets.
No. So that dude that had
fast car, but will not outrun a bullet.
he owed somebody some money, and they made sure that they were going to stop that car to get that money. So that car came in, and so that's where the motor to that car came out of, out of that, and we put it in that G35, and so it was kind of cool building both of them next to each other.
That's super cool. And they were both in your shop.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Were you still sleeping on the floor?
Yeah, we were doing quite a bit of stuff in that. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Had to do what we had to. That was, it was a long time ago, but it was some work to get in there.
That's awesome. Well, it's really we've said this a couple times, serendipitous that we all met. It is cool that we're going today and diving in and talking about how y'all's business is taking off, what you guys are doing now, how you're supporting the car community, all that kind of good stuff. So
I want to know who was the mastermind behind S Collective? Who had the idea?
Mr. Smith.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith.
Yeah. There you go.
Who's taking credit?
I think interestingly enough, we each had our own brands.
Okay.
So we met, Cody and Daniel had met prior to me meeting the two of them, but I got introduced to them through a mutual friend and client of Cody and I's. And so a year and a half ago, we all, the three of us, including our mutual friend, went to lunch, sat down, we all looked at each other and said, hey, we've got something special here. Why don't we build something really unique in the Dallas DFW marketplace? So, 2 weeks later, Cody and I had a new agreement drafted, and we all sat down. And, I think the complexities of running multiple brands under one roof were getting rather complex. And,
Yeah.
and so we needed to rebrand as one big brand. And it was very fitting that the three of us are all Smiths. And it just made sense to come up with something that represented who we are as individuals. And we can, and I'll give Daniel credit. He really liked the Smith Collective, and it just kind of stuck. Then we created the logo, and away we went. So now we have 7 companies underneath? Six
different companies.
6
different companies under the S Collective brand.
So when did that start? When did you guys meet? What year? All that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, Cody, I'll let you fire off.
I've been collecting Ferraris for 30 years, and I've owned more than I can count, and so I was just never satisfied with the services I would get. I would take one of my cars to a service repair shop. They do a great job. I take a second car there. They do a terrible job. So I go home to my wife, Blair, and I said, look, I just want to start a little 1,000 square foot. Smiling, I'm sure, at the story. I just want to start a small little 1,000 square foot shop to take care of our collection because we have a lot of cars. And she's like, my wife's amazing. I totally support that. You're completely full of shit.
It's going to be 3,000 square feet.
Nothing you do will stay small because I've built several successful companies. And so we started off just small. And what would happen is that, I'd be out to dinner with Daniel and Kurt would say, man, can you get somebody to check my gearbox for me? It's got a, Daniel's like, can you change my oil for me? So I'm like, well, maybe there's a business here. So we started that, and what happened is really very simple. Daniel came to fix a dent because he was the best aluminum PDR guy anywhere. So he comes to fix this dent, and he goes, do you have any of your cars PPF? And I'm like, I do. And he's like, who doesn't? And I told him. And he's like, what do you think of the work? I said, it's good work. I send one car there, and it looks fantastic. Then we send another car there, and it looks terrible. I have to go back 4 times. He said, well, I've got an idea for a PPF company. All of my friends that told me they would invest in me, which everybody knows that story, right?
Yeah.
I'll take care of you. I'll invest in you. Then you ask for money. I got to check with my attorney. I got to liquidate some stocks. Yeah, bad government, whatever that is. He said, I've got an idea for a PPF company because when I fix a dent, many times I'm good enough to fix really complex dents. They have to be re-PPF'd, and I'm never satisfied. So I have to remove the PPF, find a shop to put the PPF back on. And he goes, I have a plan for a PPF company. No one will listen to me. Would you listen to me? I go, absolutely. I'm a entrepreneurial junkie, so of course I'll listen to you. We went to Chili's, had chips and salsa. It was very romantic. And he brought employee number 1, which is Chris, to us. We had lunch at Chili's, made a business deal, and I drafted the documents, and we started our PPF company. And we were just very, very fortunate to have some of Daniel's contacts and some of my contacts believe in us enough to help us get started. And yeah, it was a huge springboard and a huge help. But as time went on, Daniel and I are talking. I'm like, we need more services. We need other things.
How you make money.
Right. So you send your car to the greatest detail guy. Well, the greatest detail guy, and one of the greatest detail guys in Dallas, is out of business. So a guy that we used, went out of business. Just everything in our lives is just organic. I don't even know how to explain it. It turns out that Kurt needed some business help. We had a mutual friend in the exotic car community. They introduced us, went to lunch. We're like, yeah, this guy's fantastic. And look at his hair. I mean, look at the hair.
There's no denying. I mean,
I've got some goals. I've got some reconstructive surgery to get here at some point.
I'm okay for 45.
Dan and I are wearing hats because we're ashamed of our hair.
That's true. That's true.
So, but we met Kurt at a restaurant, and I looked at him and I said, I can fix your problems. I guarantee you I can fix your problems. And he kind of looked at me cockeyed and it's like, okay, let's try it. I think 7 or 10 days later, Kurt, we were drafted all the I drafted all the documents. We bought his partner out. It was done.
Yeah, I needed to part ways with
I was gonna say it wasn't necessarily Kurt's problems. It was,
you know, and I was thankful for the opportunity that I had with the individual that I was doing business with. But it was time to make a move. And so when Cody and Daniel and I all sat down, again, it was very organic in how things happen. And it was just another stepping stone, another building block to something that has grown into what it is currently. And it's been super exciting.
So we added Kurt, and then we decided that we look around, and Kurt sent some clients to a mobile detailer. And the mobile detailer started stealing our clients. So I'm like, that's ridiculous. Let's just start our own mobile detailing company. So we went and found Max, and he has a successful mobile detailing company in Fort Worth. So we started another division with Max, and we added mobile detailing, and then we shoot all of our own content. And so I'm very intrigued with automotive content, and I'm very intrigued with the social media. So we bought a social media company as well. And so it's just evolved. And so what we really are now is a company that services your exotic 360 degrees. So I really wanted to add Porsche. I've been a Ferrari guy my whole life, but Kurt's a Porsche guy. Daniel loves Porsches. Right. And so, again, another friend, mutual friend of the three of us said, hey, Silvio Zucchet has a shop, and he's a fabulous Porsche guy. And so we met with Silvio at lunch and his girlfriend, Kelsey. 2 weeks later, bought their company. Nice. And so what we've done is we've just added the services that are up to our standards. And our standard is perfection that's never achieved, right? We're always chasing perfection. Kurt has a great saying, we're never going to give you 100% because it doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
But 98 exists, and we're going to give that to you every time. So when you come to our shop and talk to us and you're a car owner, you feel at home because the car has to leave like it was one of our cars. Mm-hmm. And a lot of my cars are in the shop, personal cars, so you can see some of the caliber of cars that we own, that sort of thing. But for me, guys, it's just been a lot of fun. Yeah. So building a company is what I know how to do, and then we take people and put them where they belong. Kurt is a fabulous salesperson. Again, the hair. It
gets me in the door. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Damn near opens the door, bud. It opens the door for you. Yeah.
So what I do in the S Collective is I am the senior guy of all the companies, and I do all of the business planning, and I do all of the business expansion. And so what we do is we take people and put them exactly where they belong. Mm-hmm. Kurt is the best salesperson I've ever met. That's all he does. He doesn't do anything else. He sells, and sells. He kisses babies, shakes hands. That's what he does. Yeah.
So what's your background history with that?
So I was one of the senior managing directors and co-founder of a pretty good sized merger and acquisition firm, and we specialized in distressed assets and distressed real estate, and so we were very, very successful. And so that fueled my Ferrari passion. But after we were into the distressed asset space and very good at what we did. So when the recession hit in 2008, it was a boon for us. But when the recession waned, I was just tired. Yeah. And so I just retired, and I said, I'm done with this. And the word retirement is just hilarious.
It's funny, man.
It's like,
especially for a guy like you. Yeah. It's we do this podcast a lot with entrepreneurs, and I'll tell you the one thing that they can't do enough of is find something else to do.
We don't know how to just relax. We talk about relaxing or talking about taking trips together, but the reality is we're all just waiting for the next project to do or start. And even on our days off, we're calling each other or doing something new. So it doesn't ever stop.
So your background served well. So you've put together a lot of deals, so you understand the contractual side of it. Emotions or run high and those types of things. And
so I specialized in companies that had severe financial problems. You had to have about $25 million of aggregated issues for us. So the reason I'm not great at it, but the reason I think I'm okay at structuring businesses that all I did was fix broken businesses my whole career. So now I can look at it and I can sit there and tell Kurt and Daniel like it when I do this, but I can pretty much tell you what's going to happen and what the problems are going to be. And so we front run them and fix them before they start.
Gotcha. And then Daniel, I know you did PDR a lot. So, but what's the back history in PDR?
Also
What got
referred
you
to as
started?
the Densei.
Yeah. The Densei. That's right. No, the PDR thing. I mean, that's
Yep, that's how we met.
that's how we met. Well, I brought you my problem, and then I ended up doing a little bit of PDR work for you. But I guess I've done dents for almost 15 years, and
Very successful.
I would say I ran that business for a while, and it got to where it was predictable in a way. I knew you're only making money if you're using your hands, right? It's kind of like if you're wrenching, right? It's only if you're turning wrenches are you making money. So the PDR thing, I had kind of reached my capacity on how many dents I could fix in a day. I knew kind of what my outcome was going to be for the year. And you're really just sitting there doing weird rain dances and things like that, hoping it would hail. If one bad hail season and you felt it, you're sitting there waiting, you're like, here comes April, we're going to be fine. And then it didn't hail and you kept waiting. So, I had kind of rode that inconsistent train for the better part of a decade when I was like, dude, I've got to figure something this out. And so like Cody had said, I really started trying to specialize in aluminum. A lot of the supercars, things like that, aluminum is just a different animal when it comes to making repairs. And so I ended up kind of running in some cool circles, getting to meet a lot of really cool shop owners and just going into private collections, working on very high-end vehicles. Those vehicles were 9 times out of 10, they had PPF on them. So that became my issue. I became skilled enough that if it was a small, shallow dent in the open part of a panel, I could fix it without damaging your PPF. But some of these body line dents, some of these harder dents, it was like, dude, I've got to get somebody. And removing it, that was more just me not wanting to bear the responsibility if the paint came off or anything. So I'd hire some guy to come in, he'd remove it, I'd fix the damage, and then I'd have to hire them to put it back. No matter how well I repaired it, I always focused on what they did. And I would look and I'm like, well, there's a bubble here and the edge is showing here. And I was very upset about it, so it almost kind of marred whatever I didn't shine. It was like, why does the PPF look like this?
So how many Ferraris were left out in the hailstorms?
Yeah, that's actually probably a good statistic.
So I have one, and I can't say the name, but I have one that had 2,000 miles. It was a Testarossa, and it got left out in a hailstorm. So I actually ended up fixing that. That took almost 3 weeks. Not because the damage was bad, but I just was terrified. It's 2,000 mile original car, original owner.
Fixes, yes.
Yeah, original paint. I'm just taking my time. It was like, I didn't smoke, but I thought about it. It's just one of those deals where I was like, I'd fix the dent. All right, let's take a lunch. They're like, this is the 3rd one today. I'm like, it is? Leave me alone. Yeah, so to answer that, not a lot of them. But, I'm encouraged by the DFW area because a lot of the supercar owners, exotic owners, they're driving their cars. And that's what I love about this car scene. We have a lot of customers that will kind of speculate and get some collector style vehicles and hold on to those. And I love working on those just because you get unique combinations. You get to see cars you didn't think you were going to get to see. But a lot of these cars are getting driven thanks to the Cars and Coffee events and some of those great venues that are hosting these. They're parking them kind of close in the weather, a windy day. And I'm like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. And those doors kind of creak open in a nice gust of wind and bam. And I'm like,
Perspective.
Pop
right
up
there.
car meet.
hi, yeah, my name is Daniel Smith. I'd like to give you my card. So I got to where I was working on a lot of those high-end cars and their bad day became my good day. But it was like, dude, don't sweat it. Like, this is what I live for, is to make your problem not a problem anymore. So anyway, long story short, that's how the PPF thing came about. Was I had tried to pitch it to several other people. And as Cody said, dude, everybody, yeah, I'll stroke you a check. I'll stroke you a check. And as soon as you're like, I think I'm ready to make the move, they can't find a pen. They're like, are you sure you're ready now? And it's like, dude, I'm ready. I'm ready when you are. And so,
Current administration.
well, and there was always an excuse. And I totally get that. Being in the position that I've been fortunate enough to be in now, if you're building a business, it's amazing how quickly whatever comes in, you immediately throw it right back out. Right? You're just constantly trying to throw it right back into the business, whether you need new tools, new space, right? We're constantly running out of space, whether it just social media stuff, giveaways, hats, things like that. Like every dollar you make, you just want to pump right back in the business because you believe in it. You know that it's going to be a success, and you want everybody to know that they're not just it's not a phase. It's not like this weird temporary thing. You're like, this is what I want to do. So you're just constantly spending every day, every waking hour, just proving this is going to work. This
Best business owners, man, they're marketers for themselves, right? And a lot of times, just with today and social media, being an entrepreneur myself, it's literally a lifestyle.
Oh, dude, nobody prepared me for this.
Dude, you wake up with a sore gut in the morning. Sometimes you're the happiest person in the world. At the end of the day, you have to love the ride. Right. Yeah. And I think that's what 99% of, business owners miss is that, even in the challenging times, it's really just sitting down and going, what am I thinking? I've got this incredible thing that's just outpaced me. I've got people, I've got challenges that people dream of. And
he's constantly reminding us of that. Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have somebody that
the first thing I said to Daniel, and that's what I ask everybody that joins. By the way, I forgot we started a chemical company. We'll get to that too.
we got some stuff there over there.
We got some chemicals today.
But I remember this vividly. I go to Daniel and say, "What do you want to do?" He goes, "I want to learn how to be you and sit in your chair." And I went to look at him and I said, "Are you sure?"
That's all order.
Because my saying about my brain is, if you look inside my brain, right, it's a Category 5 hurricane. That's what you would see.
Oh, it is. Yes.
And it is. And it is. But to me, it's just another day.
Yeah.
And so I'll never forget. And I've been so proud of Daniel and Kurt both. But those nights Daniel slept in his car inside the shop. I know you've been there, Chris.
Yep.
That you slept in the shop, crying in your car because this isn't going to work out.
Cold.
It's not going to work out. So he would call me and I'd say, it's going to work out.
I think that's the coolest part about being an entrepreneur is if you're in it for the long haul, right? You've got an amazing story to tell.
Oh,
nobody knows and understands the pain. I mean, I started mine in 2015 out of my garage. I went through a divorce. I was in the corporate world and I just stuck with it. And I said, this is where I was meant to be. It's something I've done since I was a little kid. I've loved taking cars and making them look beautiful. And so the journey, that walk, to be able to walk it with my brothers now, is something I get to tell my daughters. They get to tell their, daughters. Well, we're all girl dads here.
Oh,
yeah. So, we're all girl dads.
That was seasoned dads, man.
Yeah. So five
girls between us.
Yeah. So 5. There's a legacy.
I've got one buddy with 5 girls.
I've got one.
That's a little steep.
It's steep. Yeah. Yeah.
But I teach these guys how to be uncomfortable. I teach these guys how to get uncomfortable, and I teach these guys that it's going to be all right. I teach these guys that if you just have faith and believe in what we're doing, it's going to be fine. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be fine.
Well, and we lean on each other heavily now.
See, that's
right?
the key. That's the key with you guys. So and I was sitting here, I was thinking about that on the way up here. I was like, man, because I talk to Chris constantly. I talk to some other friends of mine, and most are all business owners, entrepreneurs, private equity, venture capitalist guys, and the first thing is like they'll have a group of folks that they're going to war with, and one of the big things in my career is like I come out of the corporate world too. Is like I got to meet some people that I really enjoyed like going to battles with, and those are people I stick around with, and it looks like you guys have found that. Just between the 3 of you, it's like a very healthy organic balance.
The constant across everything for us is that all of us are crazy. Right? So every company that we've acquired, it has a partner that looked at us and said, "I'll take that ride with you guys. I'll take those risks with you guys." Yeah. And so it's a very special thing, but it's just happened to us because that's what we put out there.
And through that journey, we've created a culture, and I think that's one thing that we're really recognized. And so when people walk in, the way our employees treat our client base, the way we treat our client base, the way our competitors, when they come in and they're like, holy smokes, you guys have done this. We're creating a culture.
What else did you do?
Well, so my focus was predominantly on detailing and ceramic coating.
Okay.
So yes, I did PPF as well. I was partnered with another company. That's how we got your car done.
Right.
That was using the Expel, and I closely managed how those installers installed for my clients, which is why I had the reputation, right? Because I could go in there and I could say, it's not done. I need you guys to redo it. So there was an accountability piece. Now that's all in-house.
Right.
Right. So it's beautiful to be able to walk on that side of the shop, and I can trust Daniel because he spends all his time there managing the crew, managing the guys, QCing everything. I go out, I help drive in the business. Cody Cody gets the business model set up and moving forward. So really, as Cody stated earlier, we're all playing to each other's strengths.
Yeah.
Right. And if I step out of the office for a week with my daughters, or he's out of the office or he's out, we all fall into place. Right. We can pick up the slack. So it makes things really easy. But yeah, having the film part now in-house has been fabulous. And that's a huge part of what we do.
So you eliminated everything you weren't good at. You came in, figured out what you were good at, and then you met these guys, and then you came in with the same kind of mentality, but your specialty was dent, aluminum, PDR. And then you came in with just a background and understanding business, structured models, marketing, all the things that nobody really knows or cares to know until about 5 years into business.
Yeah, everybody.
My opinion.
It's all the hats you're wearing, and you don't enjoy accounting.
All everybody wants to know is about what I have.
Yeah, I want your cars and your money. That's
Nobody wants to know how I got it.
Yeah. Must be nice.
Yeah.
Every one of us.
You're so lucky.
Yeah, you're so lucky.
Am I? Come spend a week with me.
You have
Getting
no
up
idea.
at 4 a.m.
Yeah,
and
see if you
ending
can
at
survive
7:30
it.
p.m. And then tell me on Friday at 7 p.m. how lucky I am. Right?
there's no such thing as luck in the business, but that's cool. So you guys met, you had really good organic conversations, and now we're at the S collection. So not only you have the products that you guys brought on board, but let's just go through the entire suite. What do you guys offer from tip to tip? Like if I'm a driver, if I'm a car owner, like how do you cater to something that I do?
Yeah. So, I mean, we take this car, for example, a client comes in, we offer everything from basic detail needs to very involved and in-depth paint correction, ceramic coating, film, tint. That's on one facet of the business. And then you can go over to the service shop and have Ferrari, Porsche service. We also service a wide array of other cars.
No, not certified, but our chief mechanic, Silvio Zucchet, is a gold certified Porsche technician. He's 918 certified, CGT certified, Taycan certified.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a great story. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to train Silvio. He asked for a $2 raise. True story. He asked for a $2 raise and 3 more days off a year vacation.
Yeah.
And they said no. And so
It's the world we live in.
So we have him, and he's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then we have 2, his girlfriend Kelsey's the reigning SCCA National Women's Driving Champion. She's the president of the SCCA Women's Driver Association. So both Sylvia and Kelsey are instructors. So we have over-the-wall support, driving instruction as well.
That's awesome. So what's been the biggest struggle with you guys as a team?
Yeah, so it's 100%. Hey,
It's this right here. It's this dynamic.
It's pretty much Kurt.
it's always sales.
Yeah.
It's the sales guy that's the problem.
Yeah. It always is my fault, by the way. You do know this, right, Jay? Yeah.
We'll do another podcast. Yeah.
Clearly, he really was in the corporate world.
Yeah.
Salespeople are the bane of your existence.
Yeah. And a necessary part
Even
of
the really good ones. The really good ones are hard.
Yeah. It's no, the hardest thing, the hardest thing for me is I expect these guys to know a lot of the things that they do not.
Yeah.
And so I'm working on it, but I can be unreasonable. I expect Daniel, Kurt, Silvio, Salim, these are all the partners, Max. I expect everybody to know what I know, and I forget a lot of times that they don't know what I know, and that they're new, and that Daniel has only been doing this for 2 years, 2.5 years. So for me, the hardest part has just been I want to teach, I want to mentor, I want to improve them, but I think I have sometimes unrealistic expectations, and that can be hard on them. So I think that's probably the hardest part for me.
Like what?
Well, I mean, just for example, a great example the other day, Daniel's, because of what Kurt has done, and I've had a hand in the sales too, our shops are just absolutely full. We're scheduling weeks out. And the other day, Daniel had a number of cars in the shop, and we were behind in production. So we measure our metrics very, very carefully.
Yes.
And so we're behind about a day and a half last week. And I look at Daniel and I say, what's going on here? And he starts telling me, and immediately in my head, I'm like, you aren't paying attention to what you're doing. You're not making the right plan. And I look at him and I just expect him to know what he's supposed to do. And so, that can be difficult, Chris. So we ended up having a conversation. It was a long conversation, and I had to reel myself back and then remind myself that Daniel is new to this, because when I walk into any of our shops and I look at the production, I can tell you pretty much everything that's going on there, and I can tell you if somebody's being unproductive. I can just see it, and I can see where our inefficiencies are. I expect Daniel to know those inefficiencies, but I'm 56 years old. I've got 30 years of experience of looking at these inefficiencies. And so I can just look at the shop and I can say, well, Daniel, this, and this, why didn't you think that? He goes, because I'm working on it, because I'm learning, because I'm trying.
Yeah.
And so I think, Chris, that's the hard part for me.
Yeah. So what would have been the expectation that you thought he should know? I'm just curious, like from your visual or your mindset versus Daniel's. So, because you do have 30 years of experience. So what were you expecting the answer to be?
Well, when I walked in, I was expecting for him to say, this car's leaving this day, this car's leaving this day. We're on schedule here. We're not, and we weren't on schedule with anything really.
Gotcha.
That day. And I just looked at him and I said, when you walk, this is exactly what I said. And this is where I had to reel myself back. I said, when you walk in the door of the shop, you should be able to survey the landscape and know exactly what you need to do and the adjustments you need to make immediately when that, and I'm wrong about that.
Yeah.
I see him, Chris, no problem, but Daniel's working on it.
So is that a trained eye? Is that course over time? Is that how did you
for
get
years?
There? Yeah.
Whipped and beat it.
So the answer to that, I agree, Dave, it is failure. Yeah. So the answer to that is the failures that I've had and knowing that you have to measure the metrics of the productivity to be successful.
And not focus on the outcomes.
Yeah.
That's a huge mistake for most people.
And Daniel also is learning to drive his guys harder. You don't have any problem looking at our guys saying, it's going to be a 15-hour day.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
When you guys know as a shop, right, there's always variables. You got to pivot on the fly.
Yep.
And, from the sales aspect, my phone doesn't stop. And so I'm trying to figure out where to funnel business in, what has been put onto the schedule, what's a calculated move, and then where we can take those what if scenarios or those quick fixes or a quick repair. We have a large dealer network that we support. So we have about 12 accounts that we support in Dallas predominantly.
Yeah.
These are high-end dealerships. These provide us a big part of our business. So they're always calling. It doesn't stop ever. And so getting with Daniel, getting with Cody, mapping out what that looks like is, as a sales guy, you're shoving work one direction. And they got to put all those pieces together. And sometimes for the three of us, that can be a little challenging. So Cody just holds us to a higher standard. And sometimes those are challenges that we have to work through internally, and we always do. And that's what makes us great, right? We're always pushing to be better for ourselves, and we want and are the top shop in Dallas. That's how we view ourselves. We don't see competition, right? And we are a force to be reckoned with, and that's just the mentality we have.
Love that.
So do you ever come across a point where you guys are, specifically you two, it becomes, what would Cody do?
Oh boy, don't try that. Don't try that. We still got some more podcasts.
They actually say that.
Yeah.
They do it all the time. You guys do it all the time.
Yeah.
I think you do it all the time.
Yeah.
So that's
We think it. So
that's an awesome thing to have, a mentor, someone that stature. Has it pushed you guys to be better or to change thought processes or things like the way that you approach things when it comes to how you operate because of Cody's expectations?
How was it to unlearn all that?
It's tough. I'll take the lead on this one. It's tough because we're growing everything at the same time. And I think that's something that, when he says he expects us to know those things, I think that's another part of it, is that I'm growing myself. That's the big one. I'm growing myself. And that's not just at work, that's at home, that's as a dad, as a husband. The other part is I'm growing the business, right? So the business I'm growing is my immediate business with the PPF, but we're also growing the whole business, which is the S Collective. So you've got all of these things that you're trying to grow at once, and you've got two hands. You're reaching out. You're grabbing everything you can. I'm taking all this amazing advice that he's giving, and it can be overwhelming if you stop. And I found the secret is you just keep moving. And sometimes, I'm gonna be honest with you get overwhelmed sometimes, and to take another step, it seems like it's the longest step you're ever gonna take. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge for me. We talk about these PPF jobs, right? So let's say we get a day behind in production. It's not just because maybe that you mismanaged one job. It could be an unplanned thing. PPF, it's still an art. There could have been one piece of dirt underneath the film that, dang, that's not going to fly. Chasing that perfection that he's talking about, 98%. There's some things that some shops would say, yeah, that's fine. It's done. Send it out. We're looking at it like, we can do better. We can do better. Rip it off. So sometimes, you'll get behind just because of that. Sometimes you can't get out of your own way. You're like, we can do it better. So there's lots of things. So
have you ever come across anything where Cody said, and you're just like, you're crazy?
Every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a daily occurrence.
You're crazy. Yeah. That's not going to happen. You're wild.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. My favorite thing is for any of these guys to say that can't be done. I'm like,
okay. I love that statement.
Let's see.
There were some growing pains in the beginning. I had my own shop. I had it set up the way I wanted to. I had all the equipment in our space currently. We didn't have that same setup. So for me, and I can just be very transparent, I kind of went into panic mode. And Cody, knowing what he knows and what he's gone through, was quick to say, hey, man, this could be fine. Yeah. And so the Kurt a year and a half ago is very different than the Kurt that sits here before you.
The thing for me is for all of these guys that these guys knew all these years, come and say, holy crap.
Different people.
Yeah. This is not the same Kurt. This is not the same Daniel. This is, these aren't the same people we started with, because Kurt and Daniel laugh a lot about this. Whenever you become a partner of the S Collective, our first meeting, invariably the partner,
it's a rough one.
The partner that's to be always says, I've got the best staff. I'm the greatest business person ever. Kurt said it.
Yeah.
About a week after he was together with us, he walked in and said, I don't think I know very much.
But it's a humbling session, right? And now we sit here 3 strong.
Yeah.
And we're able to look at people that we want to bring into our business and have a very different conversation. So I was on that side of the table a year and a half ago thinking, hey, I built this amazing business. I have a huge client base. I've got a great reputation. And then you meet somebody that's better, talented, more educated in the business sector, kind of calling you out, and you're like, oh, hold on, wait a second.
Well, Chris, the problem is this, right? And Kurt built a really successful business. Daniel built a really successful small business.
Yeah.
That's the key. The key is they built successful small businesses. The S Collective is not a small business anymore. It's a real business. It has a CFO. It has all of the tenets of a large corporation, because if we want to get to where we're going, that's what we have to have. But again, I couldn't be more proud about how these guys, they're different people now.
That's awesome. That's a very unique experience that you guys have to have someone like that on your side.
And Chris, is super humbling for me because they trust me. Uh-huh. I mean, I bear an absolute mountain of responsibility, because Daniel's got a wife, a child. Kurt has 2 daughters. He's a single dad. So I bear this responsibility. So I'm humbled that they listen to me and trust me in that way.
So let me guess. The trust was probably earned because you saw Cody get in and do things with you that nobody else was willing to do with you, right?
Yeah, there wasn't anything that he didn't follow through on.
I heard that quote the other day, and it was one that stuck with me, and it was somebody put it so eloquently. It was very tactical too. It was like, if you can just follow through on the things you say you do, you're going to change the world. And I just think about that. It's like, God, what are the things I dropped the ball on, and who do I owe something to?
And how tough is it to trust people these days?
Oh, it's terrible.
Every single one of us have been burned in some form or fashion, friends, family, whatever it may be. And so I was very skeptical, having gone through what I went through. And I would say my trust was needed to test the waters, so to speak, to make sure that I was going to the person that I was partnering with was going to do what they said they were going to do. So, yeah.
And when you find somebody that jumps in with you, that also challenges you, man, it gets harder and harder, as you grow. I think that's one of the things that I've learned.
If you say that you're going to do something, you've got to do it.
You have to.
You can't just maybe do it. You can't just, I'll get to it. That's all bullshit.
Yep.
You have to do it.
And sometimes I'll complain, but I'll do it.
Yeah. But you have to, right? Chris, if you say you're going to do a thing, if you want good culture, if you want good employees, if you want people to jump in front of a bullet for you, you better follow through.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And that was cool. The one of the last podcasts with Stephen Wolf, he surrounded.
Which is great, by the way.
He surrounded himself with a bunch of people who are better than him, and I see that for you guys, which is pretty awesome.
So, Cody, what do you do to keep sharp? We don't know everything, do we?
No, I mean, to keep sharp,
So, who challenges you?
my family, my kids.
Really? Outside of that, do you have any mentor groups or anything?
I've got 4 friends.
Yeah.
No, in fact, somebody asked me that the other day. Every friend I am the poorest guy in my friend group by far.
Yeah.
Everybody that's in my group, these guys all know them, and they're friends with these guys too. Everybody in my group is multiples ahead of where I am financially.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have it any other way. I have no desire. I have no time to waste. I'm 56. My greatest choice being a dad and a husband. It's my favorite thing in the whole world is to spend time with my family. I don't need a bunch of friends. I need a bunch of guys that level me up.
Yeah.
And I'm honored that they feel I level them up as well.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. Yeah, no, a lot of folks struggle. I mean, coming out of the corporate world, you see a lot of people hit that ceiling. I've worked with a lot of CEOs in the past that are just at a ceiling. They just quit growing, and they've gotten to a place of complacency because the people that are around them aren't challenging them at all. So.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to 497 hours of audiobooks last year.
And he's got me listening to 296 hours.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, there's nothing better to do with your time sometimes. And I got away from it the last couple of years,
But here's a great example. Kurt drove today in his new fancy BMW. That's fabulous.
Yeah, I see.
Got those new rims too. Also fabulous. Really neat car. One of one in a color.
It is a one-of-one color.
dude, that color is sick.
Brass metallic. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I had to throw it in.
I love that you did. I love that you did.
And I'm super proud that we bought Kurt that car. The company bought Kurt that car. The company pays for that car.
Nice.
He deserves it completely.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is, what humbling is, I got in Kurt's car today, and the courage to be disliked is plain.
Damn.
So I know he didn't set that up.
Yeah.
He doesn't think that far ahead.
He is a sales guy.
But I sat in Kurt's car, and the first thing I heard was it's a British accent, the narrator. I'm like, courage to be disliked. That's what does it for me, Dave. That's the juice for me. I don't need money. That's not what I'm chasing anymore. I'm chasing results. And so to get in Kurt's car today, to have him say, to hear courage to be disliked, to have him say, I'm just about done with this one, to have Daniel say, I listened to it, that's the reward for me.
And you mentioned mentors. The men's group has been an important part of my journey and my story. I'm extremely thankful.
It was very important that he would take things that I would do to the men's group, and then he would get support about those things from your men's group. That helped you a lot too, I think.
Or just, just life struggles in general, right? To be able to have guys that I can lean on, we can be open, we can be real with one another. And these guys have 20, 30 years on me. But every Wednesday morning we meet religiously and talk scripture and talk life. And so that has become just, it is every Wednesday for me. I don't miss it. So that helps me get through the week. It helps me be able to talk to these guys differently, be a better dad, a better business owner, better with our clients. So there's
Same with you, Dan. You've got a big network of successful business people.
Yep. Well, I say I've been very lucky with that. I've had my dad, which I think a lot of us, that's kind of your first mentor, right? If you're fortunate enough to have one. I say my dad's kind of been there and done that. on a lot of things. So, but you know, doing PDR is, as you know, I was a one-man show, you know, so it's like, and you're on fire. You're just waiting for the phone to ring, you know. You can't say no. If you say no, there's another number in their book they're gonna call, and you know someone else will take the job. And so you're constantly on fire. You're constantly running. So you almost don't have time to plan. You don't have time to think things through, to even dare look forward. You know, it's like I've got to stay open. I've got to stay to where I can pivot at any moment if the phone rings. So you know, walking into Cody's shop and having that conversation, just him saying, "I'll give you some time," like that was, you know, that kind of humbled me right there. I was like, this guy's running his own shop. He's clearly, you know, successful. And he's like, yeah, I'll take some time out. Let's go talk. And that was kind of my first step into, okay, maybe I can take a breath. Maybe I can afford to plan, to finally slow down and say, what's next? You know,
Busyness and productivity are two different.
oh yeah, you confuse those easily. Yep.
There's
There's
no such.
That's a hard balance.
It really
Yeah.
is.
That's a hard
It's that guy that shows up at the shop every morning. You've had this employee, Chris. I know you have. It's the mechanic that shows up every morning at 6:30 a.m. Well, just because he's the first person at the shop doesn't make him a good mechanic.
Yep.
Just makes them
Just
early.
makes him early. That's all that does. And so what I've tried to, you know, Daniel was constantly on fire. It was a fire drill for you, because if you guys know anything about PDR, and I learned all this from Daniel, they will replace him in 15 seconds. Like if they can't get a hold of him, even they won't even leave a message. They just go to the next.
Yep.
It's so true.
It's constantly a fire.
Yeah, your bread and butter is the easy dents, right? Those kind of like that's what you're hoping for every day. When it's a really complex hard dent, like the aluminum body lines on really expensive vehicles, they'll wait, but you don't get those all the time. You know what I mean? People don't agree to your price on those all the time. So you've got to constantly take whatever job comes. And he's right. If I said no, they knew all the other guys in town that were doing it. We're all hungry. That's how PDR is. It's feast or famine.
So what's the future for S Collective?
Oh, we got a little bit of it sitting over there. don't we?
Well, there's several things. So I guess the future, there's a couple answers to that, Chris. The first thing is that we're building a new shop. So there's a new project in Dallas called Maranello Garages in Plano, Texas. It's a 245,000 square foot, 79 garage condo unit project. And then we will have, I am buying 30,000 square feet inside the new garage complex. In all of our shops, we're still going to have one shop outside. We don't have enough square footage, but yeah, funny. I started with 1,000 square feet. We need 40.
Yeah,
Your wife was drying up.
What happened to the 1,000?
It's my wife's favorite story. So we'll be moving all of our shops in 2026 into that location. So we're super excited about that. And then we just started our, again, we just weren't happy with the detailing chemicals that were out there. And that's what Kurt is really good at, and Daniel's really good at. Kurt is really good at taking something as it relates to car care and knowing if it works or not. And then he can give you the reasons why it doesn't work. And so I just looked at these guys and said, we just got to make our own. If that's how you feel, you know, Kurt's like, I'm just not satisfied. Daniel's like, I'm just, you know, and what they'd say is, right, Kurt, you and Daniel would say, I like that foam. I'm making this up. I like that wash, but I wish it did X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, we're just like, well, then let's just make it do that. So we started as Collective Detailing Supplies.
Yeah, and I think in the detailing world, you know, we get asked so often from clients, like, what should I use on my car? Or I've been using, chemical guys or Adams, and not to say that those products are bad, but they're very retail centric.
Mm-hmm.
What we use are more detailer focused. So they're very specific to different types of, you know, interiors, you know, a carpet, a seat, a dash. And so, you know, being able to fine tune what I like and what I don't like, you know, there are still a handful of companies that we use in-house that we support and we stand behind. But with some of the other stuff that our clients needed and wanted on a regular basis, we're like, let's just go make our own.
Well, Kurt,
So this is what we did.
Chris, this is the one you're interested in. I know the most, you both are. Every car that comes back from the track,
Tire stuff.
it looks like it's literally looked like it grew a skin of tires.
Because of all the track days we do, right?
Yeah.
And you get all the guys out there and they're using glass cleaner with a microfiber cloth
whatever they can
or whatever they can get
WD-40.
to wipe it off.
tar remover.
And as a detailer, I
Ferrari.
If you ever want to see Kurt actually
Cringe?
physically
Yeah.
cringe
Yeah.
and potentially pass out, start.
I go
putting
into a
tar
fetal
remover on the
position,
paint
yeah.
of the car. But Kurt's right. You have a $350,000 GT3 RS, and you literally have brake cleaner.
Oh yeah.
And you're wiping off. And so we're like, there's got to be a better way. So one of the things that we developed that I know you guys are very interested in is it's called Race Renew, and it's very simple. It's a very, very active compound that you put onto the rubber. You put a glove on, you just touch the rubber with the glove, falls right off. You follow it up with a neutralizing detail spray, and you can quick detail.
So it's safe for all finishes, safe for film, safe for vinyl.
Even the high quality Dodge paint.
And let me tell you about that Dodge
Let
paint.
me tell you.
Yeah. Insert long pause there, please. Yeah.
But guys, these cars come from. I mean, there's a couple of very good, very big race teams that are getting ready to use at Sebring. These cars, if you've ever seen the end of a 24-hour race, there's no paint left. You can't even see it. It's just rubber.
Yeah.
So we decided to tackle that, and I think we're very proud of the.
So is this a spray that you use after the track event, or do you
is.
pre-treat it?
It's after.
It's after. So
after.
you can pre-treat with things such as ceramic coating, which we do for most of our clients that have a car filmed or vinyl wrapped. And that's going to help diminish how much things stick to it and make it much easier to clean. But this is, you're stuck on stuff after a track day, or, a couple of launches on one of these fancy cars here, and you literally spray it onto the rubber. Now, there is a method to doing it and doing it safely, but it makes it so much easier to pull that off.
Kurt is always selling. You seen that?
Well, I see.
There's a technique in that.
I'm a firm believer.
I'm watching his eyes and how he's thinking and accessing the information in his
There's
brain.
a technique and a method to this.
He's so jacked up.
I'm
about
going to
that
teach
stuff.
it to you.
You're going to buy a whole case by the time we're done with this.
Or you got Cutco knives or anything else you want?
The hair was flowing.
Kurt, though, we've got the shiniest cars on the starting grid. I promise you that. He will not let a car go out unless it is just ready for a concourse.
Every time I got back from a track session, my car went out looking as good. I wanted
Won
it
that
always.
category. For
Yes,
sure.
Yeah.
Every time.
It's our calling card, right? I mean, it's funny, but it's our calling card. I mean, boy, these guys give me grief about my cars. I got daughters, right? They leave French fries in the French fries in the Ferrari. I don't mind.
Yeah.
But
I'm checking my kid's hands. I'm like, let me see your paws, right?
I brought a nice
Hey,
tea.
you just had that hamburger. Did you? Let's go wash
Yeah,
your
can we
hands
get something
before you
to
get
eat?
in there.
No.
That is nice leather down there, isn't there? So
Yeah.
But we're in the truck, so
We bring food into Kurt's car on purpose. It's But again, the detailing chemicals is just another solution that we're just weren't happy with the status quo.
yeah, and I think that's a good point. We weren't happy with what DFW had to offer, and so even though we all had our own businesses, we strive for perfection in such a way because Daniel's worked with so many PDR guys, and you can say the good from the bad. I've worked, and I have a lot of friends in this industry, the detailing, and there's some great guys out there. I know guys all across the U.S. There's some fabulous shops throughout Texas. Yeah, there are some great shops. But in a pursuit for perfection, right? Our standard is so high that when we looked and met, it just made sense. We want to chase that perfection.
Well, the common thread is the same thing. You can bring something really messed up to Kurt, paint wise, and he'll look at it and go, "I can fix that."
I got it.
You bring a dent to Daniel that 7 PDR guys have said there is no chance anybody can fix it. Dan goes, "I can fix that."
Now, that's not to say you can fix everything.
Yeah. I was like,
Let's be careful. Let's be cautious. I'm a wizard, but I mean,
We can't fix everything, but everybody has that common.
it's the mentality.
It's the mindset, right? It's everybody has the same.
Don't back down.
Well, you all three still have. I mean, you seem to have the same focus. You definitely are all jacked up about the S Collective, which is so awesome to see. Like, and that's a big thing. Is you got to be just relentlessly passionate about what you're doing.
None of these guys is chasing money. None of these guys are chasing cars. Well, Kurt was chasing the car, but now we got the car. So,
let's share. I sold the Porsche, and I got rid of the other cars. So I'm down to one car right now.
but it's true. These guys aren't looking at money. I get them to look at productivity. I'm like, Daniel, if you want to make more money, then get another full out this week.
Yeah.
Full PPF job. Kurt, if you want to make more money, sell 5 more coating jobs. Don't tell me how much it's going to be. Let's just go get it.
Yeah.
So the partners all have that same attitude.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what's up besides the chemicals and everything? What else is S Collective's future?
So moving into our new facility is going to be super exciting for me in particular. So we do lots of race car sales, most all Ferraris, and a lot of retail Ferrari sales as well. And that's something we've been very, very blessed and fortunate with. But I'm going to have for the first time a showroom of my own at the new facility.
Nice.
And I'm super excited. I'm super excited about that. Daniel and Kurt are very excited about having an office. We have
We'll never get to sit in. Yeah.
no offices. We have one office for the entire company. Kurt and Daniel's office is 2 tables inside their shop.
By the wash bay.
Yeah, by the wash bay. But that's what it takes.
Yep.
Everybody knows that story about Sergey Brin and Google when they started. They got sawhorses and some doors from some apartment complexes a friend of them was giving. That's what it takes. You don't need a fancy office to be wealthy. You don't need you do need a bidet, but you don't need a private bathroom. But what I'm trying to teach these guys is that we're going to have those things, but you don't get those things until you have the money commensurate with having those things. Mm-hmm. We're not at the fancy office stage yet. We're not at the fancy conference room stage yet. We're not at the private rostrum stage. We're going to get there.
Yeah.
But it's gonna take time. So the new shop is very exciting for us. Right. And my wife and I are very excited about the investment we're going to make. It's going to be a really good investment for our family. But a showroom's a big deal for me.
Yeah.
Chris.
Huge.
Having an office for these guys is fabulous. And it's going to be a showroom like no other. It's going to be a showroom patterned after a very famous Ferrari dealership in Europe. And it's only going to have 6 cars. It will only hold 6 cars.
That's perfect.
And so those are going to be cars that I want to sell. But I think Daniel and Kurt are very excited about having an office.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very excited about
Sit next to him anymore, so that's part.
Get a lot more done.
We'll get, but I think so. The new shop is very exciting, Chris.
Good.
For us. More retail sales is very exciting, and then we're going to start doing a lot more track events. The new facility is a U-shaped facility, and it's basically 5 acres under roof, and the center section is a 1 acre car show area.
Nice.
In the center.
Interesting.
So we're going to have one of the things that's missing, that we feel is missing in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for the cars, is family events.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of family events, right? You know, that's one of the things I like about what you guys do. You take your families to the races. Kenny Tran takes his family to the races. They race as a family. You know, my 10-year-old gets to go to F1.
That's killer.
We go to things as a family, and so having family events is going to be super rewarding for us. That's awesome.
Great area too, right? Plano.
Oh, it's
perfect demographic.
We're about 25 minutes from everything in Dallas.
Man, that's exciting, dude.
So that I think that's what's exciting, and invariably we're going to grow and buy some more things, I'm sure.
What's missing?
Yeah. What's missing right now?
What's missing right now?
What do you think is it? What do you
I
think
could use
is
a
missing?
little bit more sleep, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's missing now? What's missing now is we need to find a female counterpart for Kurt. Our business has grown so much that his bandwidth is very thin. That I'm now doing sales with him, which is fine. I love sales, and I enjoy doing it. But we need another salesperson, and then we're going to start acquiring some more shops. We're working very hard to acquire another PPF shop right now, and I think we're going to get that done. So, Chris, to answer your question, more bandwidth.
Yeah. More bandwidth.
More bandwidth. More. We're very blessed and humbled by the amount of work we have now, but we could have a lot more if we wanted it.
All right.
So I think that expansion is going to be key, and Kurt needs some help on the sales side, not at sales, but he needs another, him
Person, yeah.
and then we need to find some other talent as well.
I think that's another thing too. That was like we are on this journey, but we have an incredible team of techs,
Amazing team.
an incredible team, and they're on this journey with us. You know, we're growing every day. We're passing on what we can to them. We're watching them grow. I think that goes back to the culture thing we were talking about. So when you say, what are we missing? He's right. We need another shop, because some of these guys, we're growing them into leaders. We're growing them into guys that'll be capable. And that's kind of, what is it? The juice. Yeah.
It's not about the cars. It's not
And
about
some of these guys opted not to go to college, right? And this is the career that they're pursuing.
Yeah.
So it's not just to have, worker bees in doing a task. It's really about develop. I can't even get that word out.
Developing. You help
We're not buying now.
We're the sale, right? Can you run that gun today? Can you get Kurt a few pieces of that gun?
Is can't say developing into strong men and women that love their artistry, that love what they do, that are proud, that can support their families. And we truly career path them for the next 10 or 20 years. And so that's exciting for the three of us here. I know the guys that I brought with me on the detailing side have been with me since they were 17 years old.
Yeah.
And now they're in their early mid-20s. Daniel's brought and grown a fantastic team. And the cool part about all of this is we're not having to seek talent out. It literally shows up at our door because they see what we're doing. And that is exciting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to go and pay somebody to look at resumes. It's a phone call a week. It's an email. It's people coming into our shop saying, we want to be a part of what you guys are doing because we see it all over the internet. We see it on
There's
Instagram.
people that have been in business for 15 or 20 years
That are coming up to
and
us.
saying,
I'm done.
I want to be part of this. How do we, how do we part of
It's
this?
so cool.
So you asked what the juice is for me. That's it.
No, seriously, it is. I had a guy do the same thing in our little business, and he came back and he had started his own fencing company. He said, Jay, I'm just no good at this. I want you to take this fencing company and run with it. I want to work for you guys. And I was like, damn, all that work, man.
Yeah.
And he's such a young man, 23, 24 years old, ton of horsepower. But yeah, I know how you feel. That made me feel really good.
The when you run a small business, Jay, there's a very well-known PPF shop that's approached us about being part of what we're doing, and it's because you get to this ceiling as a small business, and you can't move past it because you don't have the business sophistication to move past that. For me, it's just like chewing gum, right? It's like, okay, well then if we're here,
Nootropic gum?
the way that maybe the nootropic gum. I'm going to get some of that. I'm going to make Jay send me some. But
Hey, man, I'm a pusher.
but this company's been in business. They're wonderful people, great staff, been in business almost 20 years. They've hit this ceiling and they cannot break through that ceiling. And we sat down at lunch with them and we can just see it. We can just tell them how to get past that. And they just look at us and say, I asked the most humbling thing I've heard in the last several weeks. Remember we were at lunch, you guys, and the lady, their husband and wife business partners, and she goes, I just want access to your brain. I'm like, no, you don't. You're like,
Not all of it, at least.
but that is the most humbling thing that's happened to me in a very long time. For somebody to say, we see what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
We see this just crazy trajectory of growth. We just want to be part of that. How do we access that?
Love it.
So we have a unique aspect of things that we can ask here, and I see 3 different versions of advice that we can give, because we end all of this on a piece of advice that the person that we're talking to can give the next upcoming version of you that will help them achieve their goals. So what are some things that would be said to the younger version of you to keep going?
Daniel first.
15 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
You've been on fire for how long now?
I know it's been a long time, and I think that's what. I guess if I was to give advice, it would be to one, just take a deep breath. Just start there. Just take a deep breath. If you take a couple minutes out and just think about it, you're not going to lose the job. You're not going to piss anybody off. You're not going to do anything that can't be undone by taking just a couple of minutes for yourself. That's it. that would be it. I think, well, I should end on that. That sounded pretty cool. So I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it on that.
In there.
That's awesome.
What's up, Kurt?
Kurt, what you got?
I'd say
What are you telling Kurt?
Yeah,
Up and coming Kurt.
so find a good mentor, number one. And if you don't have that, find something you're truly passionate about. I try to tell my girls, I don't care if you're sweeping floors. If that's what you love to do, then be the very best at it. Because at some point, somebody will say, I want the very best floor sweeper in the world.
That's right.
That's it. So if you know that you're great at something, learn to trust and believe in yourself, trust the process, and learn patience. If I could talk to 20-year-old Kurt instead of 45-year-old Kurt, and I'm a lot more patient than I once was, just understand that the road it's a journey and it takes time, but just trust in yourself and find something you love to do.
Yeah, I just recently did this piece, Walk the Path.
There you go.
For a
Walk
reason.
the path.
And
Yes.
And
The story's the cool part.
It is. It really is, man. And you never really figure that out until you've got a little bit of story behind you, man. I get to meet a lot of leaders like that. Mr. Cody.
So, is it okay if I do two, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely.
The first piece of advice is pray, journal, manifest, breath work, relaxation, time for yourself. You need to do all of those things if you want to truly be successful. And then the other piece is the courage to be disliked. It's one of my favorite books I've ever read. It does not matter what anybody thinks of you. If you're doing the right things and it's legal, moral, ethical, it checks all the boxes. Do not listen to what anybody has to say if they're negative. I absolutely do not care what anybody has to say about me if they're against what we're doing in our vision. And so I think it's very important that you just have that courage to be disliked. And what I mean by that is that you need to go through life and do things your way. If you believe in something and you're convicted about it, then go do it. Just go do it. And if somebody says you can't do it, say, no problem. Thanks. Next. I don't need you in my life.
Yeah.
Next. And then the last piece would just be quit chasing things. You don't need things. You don't need a bunch of cars. You don't need you need a place to live, a place to sleep. All of these guys and gals that chase all these things. If you'd stop chasing things and just be a good person and fulfill your own dream, you'll get there without question.
They'll come. Yeah. Good advice, man. Good advice.
That's awesome.
Well, guys, I appreciate you coming out. Is there anything you guys want to wrap with on the S Collective? Any shout outs? Any up and coming news that you want to break on a podcast?
We're constantly doing events. First off, we thank you guys for inviting us out.
I like to have you guys
Appreciate that. Yeah, you have to come on our side.
You have to come on our podcast.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have you guys out.
Yeah.
Let's set it up. We'd love to have you guys on our
Yeah.
podcast because I know you guys have lots of great wisdom as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we're always
Give
doing
us a-
events. We're always involved at the track scene. Come, check us out. But I'd love to
Come
have
drive
you
Snow White.
Come, no. Hey, can you get the AC working for this guy? Yeah.
Well, and then the other thing is how can we improve one another's brands? It doesn't matter that we do exotic and you guys do drag racing. There's certainly tons of overlap.
That's one of the things we found out doing this podcast is like the common thread.
This will grow tentacles. What'll happen is you'll have a bunch of people on, and then it'll just it'll like an octopus. It'll just grow a bunch of tentacles, and you'll get a bunch of opportunity from it.
Social media page for S Collective as a whole. What is it? Tell us the Instagram.
What's the Instagram handle?
That's cool.
If you have to pause, look it up.
Yeah, I might have to look it up, to be honest. That's the beauty of a media team, right? I get to forget these things. I don't have
be
to.
here if it wasn't for her.
Yeah, I don't have to remember any of this stuff. At S Collective, it's S dot collective on Instagram and all the S dot collective, yeah. Which in that you're asking about shout outs to the team, our entire team. We are part of S Collective, but we are not S Collective. It is all of us. Yeah. So
S dot collective for the Instagram handle as a whole.
Yep.
Individually, what do we have? Yours?
Do I have a page?
Do you have an Instagram
I'm
page?
going to now.
You're about to have a
yeah.
fan base right now that's going to want to know.
Hair, yeah, something with hair. Yeah.
I'll start one just
Is
for you,
it,
Chris.
is it the brass BMW?
Oh,
What are we?
boy. There could be something there.
We took
The only one.
we took Chris' Instagram over when we bought our media company.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And then,
But
Daniel?
no, sorry.
Social media is just not that big a deal. Like to me, man, it's a time.
Why do I find this so relatable?
It's a time.
Because it's exhausting. That's why we bought a media company.
That's why the media team.
You
Yeah.
have to have, but you hate to do
Yes.
is social.
I don't.
We love this, but setting it up and then we'd get up, 5-something in the morning to do
Yeah,
a
I can
5:30 a.m.
relate.
podcast. We're like, oh, the day started.
Yeah.
right?
So I have a business page, but I don't have a personal page. My personal turns into the business, and then I don't care about that. And
I was
that's
just
it.
checking this, Chris. I have 2 followers.
There you go.
There it is.
Yeah, our CFO and my wife.
Not us, by the way. It's not us.
Well, that's the same thing, right?
Lonely is the road.
I don't have any. I don't have any social media.
So there you go. Make sure you follow the S Collective to see the 3 of these guys do the work that they do. And that's the
thank
main
you guys so
page
much.
that
Yeah,
you guys
thank you.
need to
Thank
work
you for
with.
having us.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was our first collective story. Not to
Yeah.
like pawn off of it, but what an incredible thing you guys have done together. Way to go,
Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Mr. Smiths.
All right, so that's it. S.collective on Instagram. We appreciate you guys for liking and listening to this podcast, but make sure you go to all of our handles as well as theirs. Deep Stage Podcast, S.collective. Like, follow, subscribe, and then maybe you might see us as a special guest on their podcast. So stay
down.
tuned, but the only way you can get that information is if you like, follow, and subscribe to Deep Stage Podcast and the S Collective. So thank you guys for watching. See you guys soon. And what do we got coming up? TX2K.
Oh, TX.
See ya.
Maybe a pod at TX2K.
Yep, and we'll see you guys there.
Maybe a
So-
special guest at TX2K.
Yep. So we definitely got the guys that'll keep us clean with the new stuff here, with the new products, and we're going to be racing and winning again, defending titles, right?
Nice.
Here we go.
Nice.
See you guys.